Hello and welcome back, my friends, to another episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast, where we provide actionable tips and tricks that you can take and apply immediately to grow your practice so you can serve more patients and leave a greater impact, because that is the name of the game, my friends. My name is Mark Thackeray, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Another glorious day. I was actually out in the mountains, did some backcountry snowboarding with one of my good friends, and I'm feeling great. It is a good day. But I'm excited because we have a very special guest on this episode. I'm talking with Mike Jeffs. He is the Director of Customer Marketing over at Solution Reach. And we take a real close look at how to stand out from the rest of the competition. Okay, Mike shares 3 keys to setting your practice apart from everyone else that will help you not only to draw and retain more patients, but also to attract top talent to your team. Mike also shares some great examples that demonstrate 3 keys that involve Star Trek and surfing. That's all I'm going to say. Star Trek and surfing. You're going to want to listen to that. So excited to share this with you. So let's jump right into it.
What do you get when you combine simplified practice marketing, proven ROI strategy, and Van skate shoes? You get Mark Thackeray, of course. So lace up, grab your green smoothie, and get ready, because this is Dental Marketing Secrets. And this is Mark.
All right, you guys. I have Mike Jeffs here with me. Mike, how are you today?
Good. Feeling good. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I'm excited to have you on here. Today we're going to be talking about how to stand out among your competition. And we've got an awesome discussion lined up. We had a great pre-call and have been going through all these different points. But I wanted to start off with Mike, talk to us a little bit about the current state of the industry, just with how everything's shifted. It seems like, back we were talking about how before there was this mentality of you could build it and they would come, and how that does still remain true in some rural areas. But now, we're in Salt Lake City, and I took a 2-mile drive over here. It took me 10 minutes to get here. And in that 2 miles, I probably passed 10 different offices. So talk to me a little bit about the current state of the dental industry and how competitive that is.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, it all depends on your city and state and where you're located, obviously. But we're not in the if you build it, he will or she will come phase anymore. Like in my dad's time, it used to be take out a page, in the yellow pages, maybe do some direct mailers, and you'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
He practiced for 39 years, mostly in Silicon Valley. But yeah, you do have to take the time to really stand out from your competition, and we'll get into a little bit more of that. But even if you are in a rural area and you are growing, there isn't a lot of competition around, that could change very quickly. Mm-hmm. So it's still good to have a good online presence and tell your story and create a why for your practice, because that could change very quickly. And when the new person comes in town, you want to be able to sort of have that fortified online presence as well as your culture buttoned up, so that be able to prevail or at least continue to grow even when that new practice opens its doors.
Yeah, 100%. And that's so critical nowadays, is to constantly be building a fence around your herd, your patients. And this is exactly what we're talking about today, is how building this culture that will keep all those people in, both patients as well as team members. It's challenging to do because it takes a lot of time. We talked about that before. It's not just, hey, I'm going to build this amazing culture and you do it over a weekend, a weekend getaway up at the cabin. It takes a lot of time and effort to do that. But let's talk a little bit about how to get started with that. So why don't you start, Mike? We talked a little bit about defining, what would you say is your first step to building a culture like that?
Well, if you listen to Simon Sinek, which I strongly recommend you follow him on social media, or read his books, particularly Start With Why. He says people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do is simply proves what you believe. So it's really important to establish that why and get that clear vision of what makes you different. It doesn't have to be, some big audacious thing. It could be simply, the doctor was born and raised in this city, in this town, and he or she's really passionate about giving back to the community and just loves, X city or X town, or loves the state or whatever. Maybe it's showing off the doctor's hobbies a little bit, or volunteer work that the practice may be involved in. I know a dentist, out in Utah that his thing is like, he's an orthodontist actually, and it's surfboards, and his branding is like the teeth are the surfboards and the band goes across, and he's got like an old VW bus parked out in front of his practice, like in the parking lot with like surfboards attached to it. Like that's memorable, and it sets you apart from your competitors. Oh yeah, it's the surfboard orthodontist. I've seen him before. It can be something that subtle. I had an eye doctor appointment a couple months ago, and it was my first time there, and there was nothing special about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bland. It was
sterile.
It was old. They never told me like, welcome. Like, we're so excited to have you here for your first visit. I didn't know, I certainly didn't know their why. Right. I think there was nothing, impressionable about that.
Yeah. Let me jump in here too real quick, because that's I think a lot of people, when they hear that, you're talking about, okay, what is my why? And a lot of dentists, a lot of orthodontists would naturally say, well, I want to fix smiles, I want to fix teeth, and they kind of look at that surface level. But like what you were saying is to take that a little deeper and personalize that a bit more.
Yep.
Because now it seems that today's day and age, with so many options out there, people are looking for a better fit altogether. Certainly you're checking the box. Okay, clinically, I know this is a dentist, this is an orthodontist, they can do all that. But really, I want someone who's kind of like me, who shares those same affinities for surfing or for the beach or for
a sports team.
Yeah, it could be a sports team or the community at large, So those are some great examples of that.
Yeah. Why are you a dentist or an orthodontist? Mm-hmm. Like, what got you where you are today? How did the stars align to get you where you are? What's your story? And then tell that story through your website, through social media, even in your waiting room, first visit, tour, however you want to do it, you need to get it out there. Mm-hmm.
And that can be tricky too. I mean, sometimes people think, well, I don't have a story, I just kind of fell into this. But the reality is we all have some type of story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a human being, and you have relatable things that you need to get out there. Mm-hmm. And if you think about today's the average person, really, they're consumed by probably 6 or 7 things and it's all on their phone, mm-hmm. right? It's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, podcasts, and that's about it.
Yeah,
that's really like your world.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the channels that I would think that you would want to get your stories there out on. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people are looking at billboards. When was the last time you watched a commercial, aside from live sports?
Yeah.
You don't.
No.
Or you fast forward, or as soon as the commercial comes on, you look at your phone.
Yeah.
So there is a really easy way to get your story out there. It just takes some time, and it's a slow process. It's not going to happen overnight. But just remember, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. Mm-hmm. And that should tie into kind of the base of your practice.
Yeah.
Well,
that should really be that cornerstone of everything you do. That should permeate your entire culture,
yes.
And permeate everything that you do internally, the systems that you create, as well as externally, patient-facing things like, whether they're emails or advertising or anything like that. That should all be founded upon this why, right? I mean, this cornerstone of your why, because then it creates this identity. Okay. you think you look at Hollywood and you look at not just Hollywood, but all the books, almost all the books that have ever been written, and they focus on a very simple story, of a hero, an antagonist, and then generally speaking, a guide of some sort that helps the hero along their journey, and that's what we're kind of looking at. But if that hero did not have the right identity, if Batman never became Batman and was confused, he wasn't sure if he was going to be Batman or if he's going to be, I don't know, Chicken Man or whomever,
right.
That's going nowhere, and that's where a lot of people they find themselves today, is where they don't think about these things. They don't take the time to really figure out what their story is and what their culture is and what their why is. And so when they're try and project their company out into the world, it just comes across as being, very bland, or it just doesn't resonate with people.
Right. Yeah. A few examples I've seen. There's a practice back in Tennessee where their thing is they're open 24/7. They're open 365 with extended hours. So they're open on every single holiday.
Wow.
For like more than 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they have doctors that will work on Christmas, on major, 4th of July or whatever, because they want to be known as the practice where it's like, hey, if you have an emergency or the normal 9 to 5 hours don't work for you because of your work-life balance or your job or whatever, come see us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. There's another one where the doctor is like an extreme Star Trek fan, and the whole office is decked out in Star Trek.
I love this one.
And they wear Star Trek uniforms. Mm-hmm. It's really, really extreme. But it's memorable.
Yeah.
And it's the Star Trek guy. Maybe you're not a Star Trek fan, but at least it's kind of fun.
Right.
And it's memorable, and it sets your practice apart, and you don't have to be that extreme.
No.
Maybe you enjoy fishing.
Mm-hmm.
That's your thing. Okay, so show that.
Yeah.
Show pictures of your last trip. Talk about it with your patients. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be that hard.
That's so true too. And what's cool about that is that, and I think this is where some people get hung up too, is because they say, well, let's take the Star Trek example, the Star Trek office. If all we do is show up in Star Trek attire and we talk about Star Trek all the time, that's going to turn some people off.
Yeah.
And so they're afraid of doing that because of that reason. But the reality is it's actually going to attract more people that resonates with. Right. And it's really going to endear them to your practice because you did that. So it's such a cool filtration mechanism, because now you're really repelling all those people that aren't as good a fit, and you're attracting those that are going to be a better fit.
Right.
If you do it right. So that's a cool.
Yeah.
I love that example.
And there are tools that can quickly tell you whether or not you're going too far, whether it's post-appointment surveys or online reviews, you'll know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a cool example too. I love that one. So that's what's cool is about once you're starting to flesh out what your identity is, what your story is, it really helps you create a vision for you and your office and your practice. Because without that, it's hard to move forward. You've probably encountered this too, Mike, where you're talking to an office, talking to a doctor, and they're lamenting the fact that they had a poor year, as far as revenue goes, the production's down. Mm-hmm. And then as you start digging in deeper, they have no idea they have no goals, they have no vision. And so they're really just saying, well, I think it's worse, it feels worse, don't really know, but it feels worse than it was last year. And that's the challenge if you don't have a clear vision. Is then you really run the risk of being like, oh, I don't really know how I'm doing.
Right.
And
it all starts with your why and creating your vision. And if you don't have a vision, you don't really have a direction or a purpose. So you have to know where you want to go in order to get there, and then measure and gauge the progress, right?
Yeah.
And it's not easy, and the biggest companies in the world struggle with this, and the ones that do it successfully, it's an ongoing thing. It's a daily thing.
Yeah.
And it takes years to get there. When you look at, the easy examples of like the Googles and the Apples and the Zappos of the world, like
right.
It was very deliberate, and it took years and years to get to where that is. So, give yourself a break as you take this on, because it is a very big undertaking, but it can have massive upside.
Yeah. Well, and it's so cool because it galvanizes your team as well. If you have this clear vision and it's really articulated well, and then let's say if you take that vision and you post it on a job posting, for example, this was something that we were talking about in the pre-call, that's going to attract better team members. You're going to see those people that they're going to read that, and it's going to ignite something in them, and they're going to raise their hand and say, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
But if you leave that out, then they're just sifting through these different ones, and you may miss out on a huge asset that could be going to work for your competitor because you didn't take the time to spell that out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it could be an easy one where Dr. Johnson is a third generation, doctor from Wichita, and he or she just loves Wichita, and they went to school there, and they love Kansas sports and all that, and they're really passionate about making Wichita a better place and a great community for families or whatever, giving back to the community. And if you put that in the job title, that's going to ring much more true than just a generic job title. And you're going to be able to attract the kind of people that you want in your culture, that are gonna fit and provide the kind of experience that you want your patients to have to help set you apart from your competitors.
Yeah. And what I love about it too is that it also gives you this measuring stick to gauge your performance on, and really determine, hey, am I in line with what my why is? Because then if you have this team around you and they're supporting you, then you can go periodically throughout the year and say, okay, these are the actions we're taking. Does this follow suit with what we're trying to accomplish? But without that clear vision, you really just kind of, you're kind of going a little bit over here, a little bit over there, and not really making a ton of progress.
Yeah.
So it works really well as a measuring stick for your own company progress, as well as attracting talent. Plus it's cool. It's going back to your example, let's say if you're really heavily involved in the community, then you can go and say, this is our mission. We're really trying to build up Wichita. We want to make this the best community out there, the best place to live. And you can go to other companies that you feel like match that and help get them on board, and enlist them, whether that's finding new team members or whether that's finding new patients, just by articulating, hey, I know we share the same value in building Wichita into this great place.
Right.
What can we do to help each other out? That's going to make it so easy to forge that relationship that could potentially be a huge referral source for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes without saying, but I'll say it, your employees are your biggest asset.
Yeah.
They really are. And turnover is really high in the dental industry, for a variety of reasons. But I would just, really put a lot of emphasis on who you bring into your practice. Slow to hire, quick to fire. Mm-hmm. Just take your time and find that right person on the bus, because it has huge upside, very difficult to do. But if you take the time and you understand the upside and how it's going to really impact your practice long term, you can do it.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, and that does take time. It's because you have to dedicate time to discover, okay, how am I going to figure out if this person's the right fit? But again, if you have that clear vision, if they align within that vision, it's going to make it so much easier, just like you're saying.
Right.
That's so key. That's so key. So how do you get that started? So we've been talking about building this culture, and you do that through a shared vision, a clear-cut vision. How do you get started? If I'm listening to this and I've never thought about creating a vision before for my practice, what would you say? What are the first things that you'd start to do?
I would really think about why you're there. What gets you up and motivated and eager to jump out of bed in the morning every day? What are you passionate about? It doesn't necessarily have to be about dentistry or ortho. It could be about you're really pumped up about, you're really into fitness.
Yeah.
Or you're really passionate about your family and your kids' activities, or, you're really into some sort of cause. Maybe it's local or national or international even. So Carl Jung, he has a quote. He was a German psychologist. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakens? So you really have to look inside, and not to sound corny, but it's like, what are you passionate about? What's in your heart? And that will resonate with people.
Yeah.
Almost anything that is, I guess, that honest. And if you do like a real gut check,
yeah,
it will resonate.
Yeah.
With people.
Well, and it shows, right? I mean, when you're talking with someone and they're sharing like a personal experience or some type of personal mission that they're on, you can feel that. You can sense that. We have that unique ability to determine when someone's telling something from the heart as opposed to just a canned script, right? I mean, you can sense that immediately, and so that's kind of what we're asking you to do, is just take that time to really discover what that is. And I love that quote too, because he talks about who looks outside dreams and who looks inside awakens. I think of that, like if you're looking out for outside motivation, then that's more of a passive type of approach. But if you look inside and internally, that awakens. That's more of a proactive approach. I mean, it sparks something that's going to really could become something huge, and really build a ton of momentum there. That's really cool.
And what do you want to be known for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it, is say, okay, at the end of my career, what do I want people to say about me?
Yeah.
Or about my practice, or about my life? I remember I can't remember if it was Stephen R. Covey that said, imagine yourself, you're at your own funeral. What do you want people to stand up and say about you?
Right.
And I thought, man, that was such a good way to put it, starting with the end in mind and thinking, what are those things that are most important to me? And like you said, it doesn't have to be dentistry. It doesn't have to be fixing teeth, filling cavities, dental implants, ortho, anything like that. It could be, hey, I love what I do. This is great, but really what I'm passionate about is my family, or what I'm passionate about is the community, or some other interest, or the football team, University of Kansas. It doesn't, it doesn't, that part doesn't matter as much.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Mm-hmm. But it is a long process, can be a long process to find your why and your vision. But it's well worth it. And it could change over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay. Mm-hmm. As long as you have one.
Yeah.
And you're making a connection, a human connection.
Right. That's a key point, is just remembering it does take time. Okay. And there's going to be times when you get, you put your vision out there and you get feedback that suggests that you might need to tweak it. You might need to say it differently or articulate it in a slightly different manner because the original perception wasn't correct. Or you're realizing, hey, but this is more important. So we're gonna pivot and move this direction.
Yep.
So yeah, it does take. So that's a great thing to remember. Is just Don't get too hung up on making it perfect the first time, because it's going to evolve.
Yeah, totally.
So one thing that we discussed before too was now you've kind of got this vision, you've got this why articulated out. Now it's time to really look at, how do I take this vision and build a culture around it, okay? Around your why, around what makes you excited, what makes you passionate. And there's a couple ways to do that. So why don't you walk us through, Mike, some of the different ways that you could do that to build a culture around your why?
Yeah, so in order to succeed, you're going to need a team to support you, in your why. And you're going to have to take care of them and motivate them and all that good stuff. But there's really 3 ways that you can do that. And hiring the right people, which we've talked about, and attracting the right talent, and communicating your why in your job posting, during an interview. Have a why scorecard of sorts to kind of gauge if the candidate is a good fit. Ask for examples, and another easy thing to do is to practice competency-based hiring, where you essentially outline 5 to 10 competencies that you're looking for in that person, and create questions based off of that. I'm a big proponent of hiring on, competency and attitude, and then training for skills.
Yeah.
Hiring people that who they are and like what they stand for and their values. And if they're smart, like, they'll pick it up.
Yeah.
That person's going to be way more loyal and treat your patients better. They might require a bit more training, but again, if you want to think long term, it's important to understand that you're investing in that person that is better, rather than someone who could come in who knows your PM system and knows your patient relationship management software or whatever, and has all this experience. And you're not going to need to train them, but you're not so sure about their attitude,
right,
or their values, or I would take the person with the character and competencies that I want every day.
100%. I couldn't agree more. It's so true. It's funny. I was years ago. I was at In-N-Out Burger. There's one not too far from our house, and I was there with some friends, and I'd actually been there a couple weeks prior. Okay, so and when I went there the first time, there was this taller guy working the counter, and immediately when I walked in, he started engaging me in conversation. Just very amiable, super neat guy, just outgoing, has this great personality, and was going out of his way clearly to make sure people were welcomed. Yeah. And then literally like 2 weeks later, I go back and I'm looking for this guy and I ask about him, and turns out someone came and hired him off to a different company. They'd seen what I'd seen in him, just that he was willing to do these things that probably weren't on the job description, but he was doing them anyway because that's the type of person he was, the character that he had. And they knew that they could take that and make him into something amazing, because he had that right attitude.
That's right. That's right. And for those on the East Coast, In-N-Out Burger is a popular burger place in California and is now in Utah. But you bring up an interesting point, because when I was in high school and In-N-Out Burger was moving to Northern California, a lot of people wanted to work there because they pay significantly more than any other fast food place. And they only hire like the top. They kind of pride themselves on hiring like really hard workers, people who are friendly and passionate, and it shows.
Yeah.
If you look at it on a spreadsheet, you're probably going to say, why are they paying $12 an hour when they could pay $9.50 an hour?
Right.
Well, look at their production, look at their brand, because their people are their brand. And when you go through the drive-through, it's all windows and you're watching them they want you to watch them because they're working really, really hard. And I had a buddy in high school who worked there, and because he had a Camaro payment, and he wanted to work there, and he's like, it's hard. I mean, it's hard work, but it's a great environment, and they pay you well, and he liked it.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? And that speaks to another facet of this, right? Is the word of mouth that travels because of your reputation or the culture that you've created. You know, just like In-N-Out Burger, you know, your friend that worked there, I mean, was probably attracted there. You know, I mean, if you get hired on, you pride yourself in being a hard worker, you know, because you recognize that they only take the top, you know, 5% or 1% or whatever it is.
Right.
And now that you've qualified for that, you feel that sense of pride, and you're going to carry that with responsibility, you know?
Yeah.
That's such a cool way. And imagine, if you did that for your practice, where you're not just trying to honestly take anyone that you could get to be your dental assistant, but you were attracting the best client, and you were actually having to say no to 3/4 of those candidates.
Yeah.
You know? That's a good position to be in. And you may pay a little bit more because of it, but in the long term, it's such a nominal, you know, amount.
Yeah.
Right?
And In-N-Out is also partnered with some great charities to help with, you know, child trafficking and some great causes. And they've ingrained that into their brand when you look at, like, on their cups and stuff, because we're trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool.
They're just picking something. They're picking something. I mean, nobody can help everybody, but they're picking something that they really care about, and they know they can make a difference on, and kind of making a great play for, hey, we're helping with this really troubling cause that we want to help out these kids with. Yeah. Like Tom's Shoes is another one.
Yeah, that's a great example. And they don't always have to be this philanthropic, you know, pursuit or mission of you know. But there's a guy, one of my friends, he started a coffee company for veterans. And now that we're talking about it, I can't think of the name. I'll think of it. And that he just wanted to do it for veterans. He was a veteran himself, you know, and he wanted something a little stronger than what you could normally find. And he told the story really well, having lived that life, you know, and then appealed to those people, you know, and it's done really well, you know.
Yeah, that's great. He probably gives back to veterans.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He does. So that's the first one. Okay, so your vision, building a culture can help you, or your vision can help you build a culture through your team. Okay, so that's the first one. So you mentioned there's 3 of them. What's the next one?
The next one is your in-office experience. So what do patients see when they first step foot in your practice? What are the first impressions?
Yeah.
During the appointment, are you exhibiting those values during it? And then think about how you can make sure you work it into your processes to ensure that it happens every time. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. I had a friend who went to a new dentist, got his work done. I think he got a crown, and he was checking out for his follow-up appointment. And the receptionist gives him a bottle of Martinelli's and says, "Welcome to such and such practice. Mm-hmm. We're excited to have you as our new patient.
Yeah.
Hope you had a great experience. We're excited to see you again." Just something simple as that.
Yeah. So simple.
Doesn't have to be expensive or, grandiose. It's just a simple gesture. That's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. And he told me about it. So
yeah.
I mean, that in and of itself is an example that you just created a memorable kind of experience. The 5 senses do matter, you know? Mm-hmm. Do you have like a weird smell?
Right.
You know, of course there are some smells that you just can't avoid in a dental office. But again, like, think about those things.
Yeah.
Think about, are the chairs comfortable? Do you have something for someone who has kids? Mm-hmm. is your staff being really loud in the front office when people are trying to read their phones or whatever?
Yeah.
So you need to be thinking about that. And you could even do set up some guest or some ghost patients.
Yeah.
And have them come through, have a friend go through and say, hey, I'm trying to get some feedback here. Tell me what you think.
Right. Yeah.
From the time that you scheduled to you came in practice to post, I want to know how I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Candid feedback. There's post-appointment survey tools, that you can get that immediate feedback.
One I was thinking too, you mentioned the 5 senses, and I was thinking back to your example of the orthodontist that's more of the surf culture.
Yeah.
So imagine if you walk in and you see visually scenes of the beach. You see a surfboard propped up against the front office or on the wall. You see maybe a fake palm tree or whatever. But then imagine sitting in the chair and they give you sunglasses, cool looking sunglasses instead of just the big bulky ones. They're still functional, but instead of the big black ones that no one, shop glasses that no one wants to wear. But also imagine if you had some type of pina colada scent in there, that was just in the office. That was your scent, it's very tropical. It conjures up images of the beach or of the jungle or anything like that, of some type of paradise or getaway. That's going to help in that experience.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of cool technology that you can offer during the treatment as well. Mm-hmm. And at first thought, you're probably going to say, well, that's going to cost me X amount. Well, how much is an experience worth to you? Do you want to keep those patients happy or go spend a bunch of money to go get new ones?
Right.
Sometimes you just can't. Not everything has a to B ROI.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Why does Disneyland have 3 street sweepers in front of Pirates of the Caribbean instead of 1?
Yeah, right.
Why? Because they care about the experience and they know that it's going to pay off dividends and that they want their guests to have a great experience so that they'll come back.
Yeah.
And spend more money with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it shows that to the guests, or in our case, the patients, but also shows that to the team, that we're that committed to our vision, that we're going to do that. We're going to invest, whether it's time or money or resources, to ensure that happens, mm-hmm. And so I just think of that as another way that it really pulls people together and unifies the team, not just the patients. So, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so that's kind of the in-office experience. That's a great example. So we have one more. Talk to us about the third and final way to build your culture around your why.
Yeah, so communication. So kind of what I was talking about with having a ghost shopper or a ghost patient is, what kind of communication are you sending from the very first time that they find your practice, all the way till, post-appointment, and it's been 6 months and it's time or 6 weeks or whatever, and it's time to come back. That includes phone, that includes email, that includes, a welcome email, a welcome thank you card, a courtesy text follow-up, and then post-appointment communication. You got to think about your emails, your social posts, and your texts. You need to align and reinforce your why so that patients know exactly, what you stand for and why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. So you need to think about making sure you have your branding correctly on those emails. Make sure it looks good on mobile. What are you doing to welcome a new patient? Look, they could have probably had 3 or 4 other choices nearby.
Yeah.
You need to recognize that, appreciate it. What are you going to do for them?
Right.
It could be as simple as you give them a 30-second tour and you tell them the story of that practice or the story of that doctor.
Such a good idea.
It's just something as simple as that. Mm-hmm. It could be an extra thing in the packet in your little bag that you give them. for the first time, rather than just floss, toothbrush, toothpaste. It could be something else, like a little movie gift card,
Right.
Or something, $5 thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be big. And then making sure that you are communicating in the way that's, again, that follows your vision and your why. Are you the really buttoned up, kind of high class, practice that does a lot of cosmetic work, and the doctor's, out every month at a trade show learning the latest techniques? Well, then your emails and your texts should kind of show that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you the more fun practice that's into surfing or whatever? Make sure that brand and that voice comes through on your communications.
Yeah.
So it's important just to get that alignment.
Well, and one thing that I thought of when you were talking about that, Mike, is just that how neat it is, because it allows you to really market yourself so differently. Once you have that clear vision and you're injecting that into all of your, certainly patient emails, but even just, I'm thinking too, trying to attract new patients. Now you're suddenly projecting a different message than everyone else. If you're adding in and incorporating in to your messaging, your why, now it's not just about dentistry. It's not just about the clinical side, but it's about, yes, the clinical side, we take care of that and we do a great job. And we're also really passionate about surfing. We're also really passionate about our community. Yeah. Here's how we do that. And now it takes it a step further, and it makes it easier for people to recognize and to really pay attention to what you're doing because that messaging is so different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that should really come through if you have any sort of newsletter, whether it's quarterly or annually. Make sure you show your personality of your practice and anything that you're involved in. Like my dad was part of a group called Flying Samaritans, where they would hop on a plane, like an optometrist, a dentist, and a family physician would hop on a plane and go to Mexico, to some areas who were underprivileged, and the next day would be open for like 15 hours. Yeah. And it was free, and people could just come in and get treatment that need it. Yeah. And they would work for free, just like all day.
So cool.
And helping, people and families who couldn't afford it, things like that. My dad never really vocalized that to his patients when he was practicing, which I think he should have. Yeah. Check out the pictures from, Dr. Jeff's latest trip to Mexico, and, he helped out this boy. Or if you want to donate toys, he's going down. Yeah. Here's a box out front in our waiting room if you have any old toys you'd like to donate. Again, it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, and it's not that you're putting yourself up on a pedestal when you say that. It's really just demonstrating your passion for what you do. Right. Your why. It really does come back to your why. And that's a great way to do that. And yeah, I totally agree. I think if you're doing those things, you need to be sharing that with your patients on a regular basis. So one of my clients was involved with Make-A-Wish Foundation this past year. And I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I have a daughter that's been through Make-A-Wish, and they've had some team members that have been through Make-A-Wish. And so just having had that firsthand experience, it was something that was very personal to them. And so it was a neat combination, right? I mean, it was so cool. And so one of the things that we did was put on these proclamation parties. So that's where you host a party for the child with cancer, and Make-A-Wish will come in at some point in that party and will let them know that their wish is being granted. So most of the time they're going to Disney World or they're going to the Caribbean on a cruise, and you'll get to read a scroll to them that says, hey, you've hereby been granted this wish. And it's such a cool experience. But one of the things that we did for my clients is we let our patients know that this is what we're doing. We're hosting this party, and it's, while well, it's exclusive. It's, it's just the family that's invited. We would love your help on putting together, things for this party that's based around a specific theme. So one of them was a Harry Potter theme. And we had patients, because they'd heard about this from a newsletter, and they stepped up to the plate. One of them's a baker, and she's been featured nationally on one of the contests. She actually won one of those baking competitions, the cupcake ones. And she made these Harry Potter cupcakes. And I don't know if you're into Harry Potter, but they were the Sorting Hat.
Oh, yeah.
And they were phenomenal. They were so cool. And you'd bite into them, and they had a different colored feeling, and that would determine which house you were in. And they were just so cool. So that was one thing. And then we had another patient whose daughter had created this Harry Potter dance with her company, but she came by herself. Yeah. Her mom brought the music, and the daughter did a dance for the family, for the child, which was really cool and totally out of her comfort zone, I'm sure, which was awesome. But then other patients would donate things for the, whether it's food or decorations, and it really was cool because it was a group effort. Now they got to participate in something that meant so much to us and now means so much to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great example. Just making that human connection.
Yeah. It's so cool. So cool. And again, it doesn't always have to be some type of philanthropic endeavor, but even if it's, like we were talking about, if it's a surf theme or a community theme, just putting on, you could do an event like that to really demonstrate your commitment to your why, So if it is a community thing, maybe you're inviting other people that are active in the community or put on an event that showcases some of the, I don't know, maybe things from that community that are unique to that community,
Yeah, and you can look at other industries too and find tons of examples.
Yeah.
I have my realtor who I haven't used in 6 years. Yeah. I still get an email where he holds like a movie night for all of his customers, and you can go, whatever's the hottest movie, he'll rent the theater out.
Yeah.
And I could just go if I've never been, but
yeah,
I think that's awesome. That he does that. And I think he does something in the summer as well, like a big barbecue appreciation thing. It probably doesn't cost him a lot, but it's memorable.
Yeah. I'm
not planning on moving anytime soon, but if I was, he would probably be at top of my mind.
Yeah.
So look outside your industry and be looking for things that you've connected with, whether that's your dry cleaner or your realtor or whatever. Just keep an open mind.
Yeah, totally. There are so many examples out there, and honestly, we could keep going because there's just so much involved in building a culture like this and really establishing what your why is. But we're kind of up against it. So let's kind of bring it back and summarize 3 things. I always like to leave with some type of action items, right? I mean, what would you say, Mike, if based on our conversation, what would be 3 things that people can take and work on right now to build a culture around their why?
Well, the first is defining your why. And I would suggest that Simon Sinek's TED Talk on Start With Why. Just listen to that on your commute or when you have a few minutes in your car. I think it's the 2nd or 3rd most watched TED Talk of all time. But it'll help galvanize that idea and how important it is. Then spell out your why. So that would include your communication and what you're going to be known for that's tied to your why, and making sure that your patients know what that is. And sometimes those are subtle things, but the last one is build your culture around your why. And again, it can be a long process there. And anyone who tells you they have it figured out, they're lying to you because it takes time to get there. And even once you get there, it takes a lot of work to keep it there.
Yeah.
So give yourself some time.
Awesome. Those are tremendous. Well, okay, before we sign off, are there any last words? Anything that you feel like you wanted to mention? I feel like we covered a lot of good stuff in here.
I think that, one thing I would say is whatever that got you to where you are today, and your success, doesn't mean that that's what's going to keep you going in your success. You got to continue to think outside the box. You got to continue to think of ways how you're going to stand out from your competitors, and have the humility to accept new methodologies that are going to get you there.
Yeah, that's so true. I just took some notes because that is so true. It's easy to rely on what we've done in the past and just think that, hey, this will continue in the future.
And it might.
Yeah, it totally could.
It totally could.
Yeah.
But you're going to have something in there to measure and gauge. Setting up quarterly starts with, your employees, having those one-on-ones with them.
Yeah.
Having quarterly goals with them that line to the goals of your practice.
Yeah.
Right? And again, that's a whole other conversation podcast you can have with somebody, but just make sure that you keep that in mind, that what got you where you are today, it might not get you where you want to go in the future.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike. Last question is if people want to get in touch with you, learn more about what you guys do here at Solution Reach, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, just Mike Jeffs, Jeffs. You could also visit solutionreach.com and learn about more what we've been doing for the last 20 years with patient relationship management.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Cool. Well, we'll have to have you back on the show. But until then, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Did you enjoy this episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast? Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And for more proven marketing strategies to grow your practice, visit practicerocket.net.